Hi everyone, welcome to topic 10. Topic 10 is going to be looking at the short run trade-offs. And this is a very interesting chapter given how applicable this is to our daily life and a lot of the challenges that we're facing. So when we look at this week, we're going to look at the trade-off that exists between inflation and the unemployment rate. There is a trade-off in the short run between the inflation and unemployment rate, which means if the unemployment rate increases, this means that people are losing their jobs and not as many people are working. And when not as many people are working, they have less money to spend. And given that they have less money to spend, you'll notice that inflation will increase. So there's an indirect relationship between these two variables. You can also do it the opposite way. If the unemployment rate decreases, we stimulate jobs, more people are working, and given that more people are working, inflation will decrease. Phillips curve was developed or was studied and came up by A.W. Phillips, where looked at this nominal wage growth and correlated with inflation, what people did with their income. Now, what you look at right here is unemployment rate when it's very low, and you look at the inflation rate. So when you look at this graph, when the unemployment rate is about 7%, we got an inflation of about 1%. However, when the unemployment rate went to about 3%, you notice inflation was higher. This is that more people have money in their pockets. Given that more people have money in their pockets, they're going to be spending more money because they have jobs, they're earning wages, and this creates a circular effect in our economy. When we look at the Phillips curve, there's a short run Phillips curve and there's a long run Phillips curve. In the short run, all adjustments are made, and this indirect relationship between the unemployment rate and inflation rate does exist. However, in the long run, all adjustments are made, and the only thing that occurs is there's changes in the expectations of prices. So if you look at the long run Phillips curve right here, you notice with the long run Phillips curve that this curve, only thing that we always go back to the natural rate, but the only thing that changes is the level of prices or inflation. When we look at the Phillips curve, let's look at this example right here. We start right here at point A, where our expectations of inflation is 3%. So in the short run, the unemployment rate decreases. Given that the unemployment rate decreases from 6 to 4%, you notice that inflation increases. When inflation increases, people have to make adjustments now. We kind of expected 3% inflation. However, now we expect inflation to be 5%. Given that we expect inflation to be 5%, we have to change our expectations, and finally we make adjustments, which shifts the Phillips curve outward. So those are some of the concepts we're going to look at. Now I want to go over some of the questions, the concepts you might see on the quiz. Now, I'm not going to go through every question, but I want to give you a little bit of a basis to what you might see. So, we're looking at the definition of the Phillips curve and what A.W. Phillips looked at. So now, aggregate demand decreases. When aggregate demand decreases, you want to focus on how that influences output and then unemployment. In the long run, if there's a shift of the long run Phillips curve to the right, what does that mean about the, or no, I should do it this way. Which of these will cause the unemployment rate to increase? An event that directly affects cost of production. What would that? That would be the short run aggregate supply curve shifting. What's an example of an adverse supply shock, which causes a decrease in the supply shock? Decrease in the supply curve, aggregate supply. A favorable supply shock would be an increase in the supply curve to the right. In these examples, you're looking at how it influences aggregate demand. And this is an example or calculation of the misery index. These are some of the topics and questions that you might see on the quiz. If you have any questions, please let me know, but I look forward to your effort this week.